What is up, everybody? So this is going to be my review for Act 1 of Transformers War for Cybertron. Netflix Siege is the name of Part 1. It's going to be a trilogy. I'm assuming it's going to be 6 episodes in each part. For the most part, initially, overall, I thought this was pretty good. I only viewed it once so far. I'll be going back through, look for Easter eggs, maybe things I missed or whatnot, but all in all, I thought it was really good. The pacing, I thought, was good, leaning toward a little bit slow, but I kind of understand why they did it, but it was a little bit slow, to be honest. But in this case, that's not necessarily a bad thing. When the story slows down, you're getting a lot of great character work from the writing team and the voice actors. I thought the story and the characters are what really shined about this first 6 episodes, but I'm going to get into that. So we're going to score this on story, characters, art, and music. First off, for the story, I thought it was good with some changes I was okay with, and some I thought could have been done a little bit better, some of the story changes. They kept trying to do this like forced love story thing with Optimus Prime and Elita 1. And while that's fine, if you want to do that, I feel like when they tried to do it in the, because this all takes place in one day. I'm assuming this all takes place in like a day, right? All 6 episodes. You kind of get the feeling that it's like, hey, now's not the time to be talking about this. We got stuff going on, you know. And of course, and you don't really look at Optimus Prime like that. I get they're trying to do deeper stuff with the characters, and that's totally cool. Take some chances, change some things up, because this is, you can really tell this is drawing from the G1 story canon. Absolutely, without a doubt. Arc, heading to Earth, they made some changes, but the changes I thought overall were pretty good with that, and some other little tweaks that I'll get to in some of the other sections here. So for the story, I'm giving that 8.5 out of 10 for the story. I thought it was overall well done with some little changes, like I said, that some I cared for, some I didn't so much, but and we'll get to those other things I didn't care for. Characters are where this story really shines. The characters were excellent for the most part, and a lot of characters you didn't get very much time with or whatever. And some of the characters like Cog and Crosshairs, I don't care about them. You know, I don't give a damn about those characters, but you know, your mainstays. The acting was superb, and even in the places where some of the dialogue seemed a bit forced or didn't necessarily mesh with what was going on or what was happening in that scene, it's apparent the actors are really doing their best to bring to life some oddly written dialogue. And it's really apparent, especially in those Optimus Prime, Elita 1, you know, love in the midst of war dialogue scenes. That was pretty apparent there. The characters that really shine in the first act are Bumblebee, Ratchet, Wheeljack, Megatron, Starscream, and Jetfire. Optimus was good too, and Elita 1 was good too, but that whole thing I talked about kind of takes away from just a little bit. It wasn't even bad. It just felt like now's not the time. You don't really, like I said, you don't really look at the Optimus Prime character as that. You follow me? You see what I'm saying? So I want to say real quick, God bless Frank Todaro. His Starscream is the closest we have ever gotten to Chris Latta's megalomaniacal Decepticon Air Commander. I mean, his Starscream is incredible, man. Like, and Starscream's my favorite Transformer. If y'all don't know, y'all can look on my shelf back here. I got all 3 Seekers lined up right there on my shelf. You can look at my old videos. They've been there for a long time. Starscream wasn't that deep of a character or anything in the first act, but damn, it was awesome seeing him look, sound, and act like the Screamer of old. He's just like power hungry, and he don't care. Like, as soon as he opened his mouth, like, okay, when they set it up and the first time, it's obvious the first time Starscream's about to drop a line, right? I'm watching like, okay, what's he gonna sound like? What's he gonna sound like? Better not be whack. Better not be whack. He better not have like a deep voice. He better not be like sinister or whatever like that. Now, in like Prime and Armada and other incarnations, that worked. But he looks exactly like G1 Starscream in this. He needs to sound exactly like G1 Starscream. And he absolutely did. I'm not going to try to do his voice. I can't do it. I can't do it justice like this dude did. It was amazing. So characters, 9.5 out of 10. They really did a good job with the characters in this. The art, about a 7.5 out of 10. The art was touch and go in places for such a big production. The characters all looked great, but I felt like there were times when it looked like a bit of like a PlayStation 3 game, right? And it's grittier, and they're going for a grittier tone and everything, but there was times when it looked like that. And some of the animation came off a bit stiff, and yes, I know they're hulking robots, but at the same time, they can do things. Like they can move and do stuff, and when they're in action, they're not as stiff as they were portrayed in the animation here. So they showed some of the big cities from the Cybertron lore and all that kind of stuff. So it talked about Iacon. You didn't really see Kaon, but I guess that's where Megatron and them were. I guess they were in Kaon when they were doing the big rallies and all that kind of stuff. And what really threw me off for the art direction, like Cybertron has like an atmosphere and like clouds in the background and stuff. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. No, it doesn't. You know, it doesn't look like that at all. It's like it's space. There's like no atmosphere. They don't need oxygen, you know, they any of that stuff. So I thought I noticed it a couple times, and then I looked, and then the second or third time I saw like the sky, like as the sun was rising on the next day or whatever, and I was like, whoa, no, that doesn't look right. Anyway, so art, 7.5 out of 10. Now for the music, you all know I love a good score. I love a great score. Transformers the movie, and even the old series had like some little tunes and little score pieces that really stood out. Like the Moonbase 2 track that's playing right now in this video. But the music to me in this was very much just background music. I love a great score with movements and tracks. They breathe, they have their own life, and just seem to, you know, have a life of their own. That wasn't here. However, the music did set the mood and the tone pretty well. So it worked in that regard, but nothing really stood out, you know? You had your suspense pieces, your action pieces, and your resting pieces, but nothing really stood out. Hopefully upon watching it the second time, I'll hear some little snippets and Easter eggs that pop out a bit, but as far as the first time around it was very average, so it gets an average score, which is 7.5 out of 10 for the music. But before I get the final score for the show, there were some things I really dug and some little nitpicks that I have. So first, I'll get into the things that I really dug. I like the inclusion of Elita 1 and the female Autobots, and I also like how they showed they stayed behind on Cybertron to help lead the rebellion against the Decepticons. And G1, they are on Cybertron, but they're kind of written as an afterthought. This was well thought out and conceptualized in this version, I thought. They showed that they were in the trenches with the G1 Autobots that we kind of know and love from the original show. And they were comrades in arms, but Elita 1 made the decision for them to stay behind and help defend the planet while the Autobots are going to go do whatever they're going to do. So I thought that was good. Bumblebee. I didn't talk about this in the character section because I kind of wanted to talk about it right here because it deserves its own place. Bumblebee, the way they pulled him off was excellent. It was superb. This is the best version of Bumblebee we have ever gotten. Because it's like a continuation or an expansion of G1 Bumblebee, right? He's not supposed to be a badass, guns blazing character that you see all over the movies. He's a spy, a covert ops type of guy that gets in tight spots behind enemy lines and finds a way to succeed in his mission. He's not like a big action hero. He's a small guy. He's like the underdog. So in this, they portray him as like a thief type, like this thief in the dirty underbelly of Cybertron. Dealing Energon to Sound Blaster in exchange for like money or whatever their money currency is. I thought that was great, and the way his character arc moved seamlessly to where he took up the hero's call and joined the Autobots. I thought it was great. And there were so many Easter eggs that threw back to G1, and one of the ones that really stood out was in the opening when Wheeljack and Bumblebee were stealing Energon. That's how G1 Transformers starts, right? They're on Cybertron. Bumblebee and Wheeljack are like Jack and Energon, you know, from the Decepticons, and then they get chased by the Seekers. That's exactly how this opens. But more pomp and circumstance kind of put on top of it. But Bumblebee's not an Autobot. He's just like, he was hired by Wheeljack to show him where this cache was. So I thought that was brilliantly done. Like some of the little voice direction things with Wheeljack sounded exactly like he does in G1 almost. Like a lot of these people did a good job, except for like Hound and other people, but I thought the Hound change of his voice and stuff was for the better, really. Every time I hear Wheeljack's voice, I can only think of Dr. Smooth and that part where he's like,
"Hey, Wheeljack! I bet real dinosaurs had metal skin too!"
Fuck you, Huffer.
That never gets old. If you've never seen those Dr. Smooth videos, the Transformer videos, you gotta go see them. It's at least an hour or two of comedy. It's fantastic. I still watch them. I had some nitpicks too. Like one of my nitpicks was, why kill Skywarp rather than like Acid Storm or somebody like that? Skywarp has one of the coolest abilities of all the characters, and he's part of the awesome trinity of the Seekers. You know, it's Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp. They command the skies. You know, the three of them can command the skies. So I didn't like that. I hope they find a way to write him back in, or he's not really dead or something like that. I mean, because for me, it's not going to feel right if Skywarp's not flanking to the right of Starscream, Thundercracker's not to the left. You know what I mean? It's got to... I would like to see that as it needs to be. And they killed Ultra Magnus. I mean, why kill Ultra Magnus? This one didn't bother me so much because it did add some weight to the show and give some shine to Bumblebee. But they wrote off the Alpha Trion Protocol's plot device that they threw in there in kind of a lame, wonky kind of way. And I think they need to revisit that. I thought that was pretty cool concept that they introduced to the story, and I thought that was worthy of a few more episodes of exploration. So hopefully there's still a little bit that's in Bumblebee. Where are the other Autobots, man? Where are the G1, the classic staple mainstay, like the guys? Like, where the hell is Jazz? You know, where the hell is Jazz? Where are Hoist, Brawn, Bluestreak, Gears, Huffer, and my first Transformer I had when I was a kid, Sunstreaker? Where's Sunstreaker? You know what I mean? That's I'm pretty sure he's Sideswipe's running buddy. You know what I mean? So I really thought they would have him in there. We see Cliffjumper and as Shockwave when he's uploading that virus and all the Autobot outposts are going down. We see Cliffjumper, but we don't know if he makes it. We don't know if he was killed. I mean, we don't know. So that'll remain to be seen. But he's supposed to be on the Ark. All these dudes are supposed to be on the Ark. And they might still be. Because the Ark was pretty big, right? The Ark was pretty big in this first act. They could have been, like, you know, in a different area of the Ark or something like that. I don't like how they changed Starscream and Jetfire's relationship. I think it would have been a great character arc to see their brotherhood dissolve over the 6 episodes and explore the fact that they were actually fellow scientists originally. You could have still done Jetfire's original story easily. I mean, Prime could have sent him to look for the Allspark when Prime sends it off-world, right? You know, he could still crash in the Arctic when he traces it back to Earth. He's there for millions of years. The Autobots find him later. Bada bing, bada boom. And they could still do that. Like, the second act could open with him being like, okay, I need you to travel to this location we've pinpointed. I need you to travel there. I need you to look for it, secure it for Megatron and his goons get there. All right, I'm on it. He crashes in the Arctic. We know what happens with the Ark millions of years later. So they could still do that. If they do something similar or close, that's fine too. I mean, but I think that's cool. But in the original storyline, he was a Decepticon when he crashed on Earth. He didn't become an Autobot until Starscream woke him up. And I wish they instead of hating each other, they had that brotherhood, so you can see that fall apart. So you can see a different side of Starscream. You know what I mean? Which you see in the original G1 story, which was great. But I don't think they're going to do that here, so whatever. Like I said, just a nitpick. It doesn't really take away from the show, just a nitpick that I had. Also, the swarms and swarms of repaint Autobots and Decepticons. Like, they just reused assets, these 3D models, and just either desaturated them or they just gave them different color schemes or whatever, which, you know, the original toy line, they repainted these characters all the time. But it didn't come off that way in this. It came off as almost kind of lazy, to be honest with you. It would have been cool to see Cosmos or Springer just lurking around the Ark, or even any of the G1 Autobots that were mentioned earlier that didn't make it into the first act. Show me the Constructicons, show me the Insecticons instead of like 100 refractors, you know, which is supposed to be reflector, but I think that's a rights issue with the name now. Instead of showing me 100 refractors and a bunch of different colored seekers and stuff like that, which, you know, again, it's a small nitpick, but they had things they could have done there. Seeing the Constructicons, we saw Astro Train briefly, right? We saw him briefly in the final battle. But I don't even think he had a line. I think he was just slowly walking, and then they set off those huge explosions or whatever, and I don't know, that was it. It's kind of felt like it was an afterthought. You know, when they were roaming through the Sea of Rust and one of the characters made the comment, "This place is starting to bug me." I really thought we were about to see the Insecticons. I thought that's how they were going to drop the Insecticons. I was like, okay, cool, sweet. But nah, it didn't happen. Just a bunch of zombie repaint Transformers. It was that was weird. That was a little weird. And why the hell were Prowl and Ironhide so small, right? They were tiny. They were small. It's like in Lord of the Rings, like they went to one of the dwarven cities or something like that, and all of a sudden here comes Prowl and Ironhide. I'm like, oh man, they were G's in G1. Prowl and Ironhide put the G in G1, right? Ironhide, I mean, especially Ironhide, right? He was always ready to whoop some ass. Ironhide was always ready to whoop some ass back in G1, and it always got him into trouble, you know. But he wasn't small. He's a big dude. That's why he's called Ironhide. And like, you know, Prowl was a big, like, he's one of the, I forgot what they call it, police on Cybertron. They call it something else. It's like something officer. I don't know. But one of y'all can tell me in the comments if you know. But yeah, man, they were warriors. They could hold it down. I mean, they were big dudes. And like in this, they're like half Optimus' size. You know, I was like, what the hell? But anyway, I digress. I thought this was pretty good. I liked it. Was it perfect? No. But I did think it was worthy of an 8.5 out of 10. Transformers, War for Cybertron, Siege, the first act of this trilogy, first 6 episodes, gets an 8.5 out of 10 from me. I really it probably could have been an 8, but just the way they nailed the characters so perfectly and the way they gave a damn about it, and they weren't just trying to sell some toys to people, you know. As a storyteller, and as Transformers being one of my very first, when I was like 4 years old, like one of my first introductions into like story and characters, you know, it really made me happy to see them giving a damn and treating this with a level of maturity and giving a certain charm and a certain shine to these characters that I don't really feel like they've ever gotten before. You know, the original cartoons, you can go back and watch them. They're good and they're fun and they have a lot of character stuff in them, but this really dived in, especially Megatron and Bumblebee. They really dive into them, and Megatron comes off as a very complex, kind of like Magneto type of character. And it's going to be fun watching his descent into madness, right? Because he becomes completely mad and just obsessed with just beating Optimus Prime. You know, like that was the whole cartoon. Like he would risk anybody and everything just to get his hands on Optimus Prime and beat him. You know, it wasn't even about ruling Cybertron anymore. This is about beating that dude, and it drove him crazy that he couldn't do it. So it's going to be fun to watch that if that's where they go with it. 8.5 out of 10. Let me know what you all thought. If you all saw it, let me know if you all dug it. I thought it was cool. I'm going to watch it again, maybe an episode tonight as I'm working on stuff, just to see if I catch little things or whatever. But anyway, y'all have a great night. Hope y'all have a great weekend. Keep rocking. I will catch you all in the next video or live stream. Y'all take it easy.